in your life, if you become and when you become an entrepreneur, right, you will come across two types of people and two types of groups. One that believe, right, and one that don't, right. So everyone has various ideas. It's not necessary that everyone will believe that your idea is perfect, right. Our idea, especially online gaming, there's cards, there's money. It's already very hard to convince people and make them believe that this is a legitimate idea that will work, right. So we, in our case, had definitely more non-believers than believers, right? And this happens even with our CTO search right now. Some people just won't believe, and then you can try to convince them how much you want to, but my experience says that there is no point. They don't believe, right? There is something to be said about that intuition. That's how we start to think intuitively what works, what doesn't, and then we move forward, right? Of course, there's a lot of data to track that and back that up and all of that, but your heart must say something, right? So if you don't believe, right, and you come, this will happen with VCs, that the VCs will say, and in our case that VC was Sequoia, right? Sequoia, the person at Sequoia leading the funding was Shailendra Singh, another IIT Bombay guy, chemical pass out 98, 99. So he said that, and he went by the numbers, right? We were doing great, we were already cash flow positive, making a ton of money. He said, okay, the numbers are great, but why don't you get this approval? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do X, Y? To me, at that point, I didn't understand that, but now I do, right? He didn't believe. And that belief, everyone, is very, very important. And I'll tell you what happened, right? We had another common friend. He knew Tiger. Tiger Global, he knew Firoz Diwan, who actually heads Tiger Global along with Chase Coleman. Tiger Global, if you guys have heard, are the ones that have funded Myntra, Flipkart, Just Dial, Make My Trip in India. They've funded LinkedIn, Zynga, they have in Facebook, they have investments in most IT companies that are doing well, right? So Firoz Diwan of Tiger, he called Thampi. Like Thampi was actually in the US at the time still raising funds for us because we needed to raise funds and I was taking care of the operations here, right? So he called Thampi and he said, Thampi, I'm very interested, right? I want to invest. I really believe that this will work. So Thampi is like, that's all great. We're in final talks with Sequoia right now, right? And if you do your due diligence and if things don't work out, and if we say no to Sequoia, then we are neither here nor there, right? We can't raise funds from there. We can't raise, and you're not putting money. What do we do? Firoz said, Thampi, don't worry about that. Send me your account number. I will wire $1 million in 24 hours, right? And he did that. In 24 hours, he wired $1 million. Why? Because he believed, right? Obviously, the fact that Sequoia was doing due diligence also helped our case because there is already that signal that these guys are onto something big here. But point is that belief is very important. Now, the reason Tiger was also very, very big for us, right, was that they hold conferences every year. And the first one, so they invested in April 2011. They invited us to a conference in October 2011, where you have all the founders of all their portfolio companies, right? So the Flipkart founders are there, the Myntra founders are there, Make My Trip guys are there, Just Dial guys are there. Not just in India, but they have investments all over the world. So all those founders are there, and there is a proper discussion that happens around what are people's problems, how do they solve them. And our biggest learning at that conference, right, and this is important to share with you, our biggest learning at that conference was, right, think only about your customer, right? Think only about your customer. Now, what does that mean? Okay, I'll explain this through an example, right? At that conference, the chief designer from Apple was there, right? And he told us a story, and I'm going to repeat that story. He said that we spend so much time thinking about the player that we have built physics models, right, that combine physics along with psychology, right? And how do they do that? So what are they doing? They're saying that I want to measure that when a person opens the packet of his iPhone, the way the iPhone falls in his hand, I have to measure the happiness that a person gets because of that iPhone falling on his hand. Right? Just imagine the detail they're getting into to measure how much they want to satisfy the customer. That changed the trajectory of games 24/7 or forever. We rebranded the following August, we came back in November. We were on a mission to spread this culture throughout the company, right? That it has to be about the player, right? We are all about awesome gameplay experience. But at that point, we were a little bit still all over the place. We were games247.com. We said no. We're offering Rummy. We become RummyCircle.com, so we rebranded. We're now RummyCircle.com, and everything we did became about the best Rummy experience, right? That's all we thought about. Day in and day out, every critical member in every team thought about how am I contributing to provide the best Rummy experience, right? So everything has to be about your player, right? I have another 6 minutes and I'm almost there, right? I want to say two more things here, right? One is that, as I think, right, do the right thing, right? What do I mean by do the right thing, right? I don't know if you guys know who Russell Peters is, right? And he's really epitomized this whole do the right thing, like a Chinese man would say, you know, do the right thing, you know. So why is do the right thing important? I'll give you two examples here, very stark examples. So in our search for a CTO, as we were searching for a CTO, there was one CTO that we just let go, right? He was our chief architect, and we were desperate. The mistake we made: do not take decisions in desperation, please, right? Any decision, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, do not take decisions in desperation. We took one. In fact, we took two, and I'll tell you about that, right? The first was that we didn't have a CTO. We had a chief architect. We said we'll make him CTO, right? We were naive. We were inexperienced to think that a chief architect can play the role of a CTO. He can't, right? Which is okay. We learned that the hard way, and so we told him that, look, you know, why don't you become chief architect again? And he didn't want that. Obviously, you know, people don't want to get demoted from where they are, and they decide to move on, and that's all right, right? But here is where, out of desperation, we made our second mistake, right? Our plan for the future, right? So the way the internet was growing back in 2006, 2007, smartphones are growing today. We want to be on each and every smartphone where people can play a game from anywhere to everywhere, right? We're the only gaming company where you can play for real money from your mobile phone, legitimately again, right? Because we don't go through the App Store, we don't go through the Android Play Store or whatever, we go directly onto your browser, right? We have cracked an awesome game playing experience through HTML5, right? So m.rummycircle.com, you can check that out if you want to. But the reason we made a mistake was because we said, funny, you have a 3-month notice period. Before you leave, you have to build a mobile product for us, right? The reason that is a big mistake, right? And the reason that was not the right thing to do is because his heart is no longer there. He is on his way out. He is not going to give you 100%. He is not going to build a product that will deliver awesome the best Rummy experience. It is not, right? We acted out of desperation because we wanted to get out quickly. What happened? Nothing happened. We got out at the same time. Had we not had it and gone the normal way, we would have still got out at the same time. So we didn't save any time. In fact, screwed up a little bit. Should not have done that, right? So that's one example of do the right thing. Do the right thing means keep the objective in mind and do the thing that will bring you closer to the objective. Another example I want to mention here, very different, but also about, yes?
What would you have done then? Would you have calmed yourself down despite the fact that you were really afraid, like feeling restless and stuff? And would you have searched for someone else?
So the CTO search takes a really long time.
Because, I mean, you were obviously searching and you obviously didn't know where it was going to end and there were like 100 things on your mind.
Right.
So you actually took that decision. What would have been slightly better than that?
Oh, the better decision would have been to take a step back, reevaluate our priorities. If mobile is that important, shelve some other projects, put more resources on mobile. That would have been the right thing to do. We wanted to have the cake and eat it too. We said we don't want to compromise on the other projects that we're doing for desktop, and we want to build mobile, and so we're going to do it this way. That was a mistake. Big mistake. The right thing to have done there, that's a good question, is to prioritize. What is more important? Is it mobile or is it some of those other projects?
What does that have to do with the team? I didn't understand the link between giving the project to like finish before he left.
Because that was not the right thing to do.
What would, I mean, like, I didn't get the link between. So what do you mean by giving all your resources? Let's say you wanted to focus on mobile at the moment, and the person who was leaving, he was working on the mobile app.
He wasn't working on that. We actually told him to start working on that once we had told him to leave.
Precisely.
Right.
So by adding more resources,
That would have been, we have to, so the point I'm making is you think of the long run, right? The reason I told Funny you start working on mobile was because I wanted him to deliver this for me early, right? But it didn't happen because his mind and heart wasn't there. If I really wanted it early, then I should have stopped certain other things and had mobile happen faster. That's the point I'm making, right? The other thing I want to say, and I'll take only a couple of minutes now, only have a minute, but right, is that also this is an anecdote, some of you find funny. So there is something called a shop and establishment license, right? For those of you that know that any company that incorporates, they have to have a shop and establishment license. That's something that says what your company does, who are the people that are working here, how many people you have, what are the kind of lead records you maintain, what are the kind of attendance registers you maintain, you have to have a board that says that we don't exploit children, etc. So a bunch of things you have to do, right? And I, for one, right, consider myself to be quite an ethical person. So I will never, right, give into all this chai pani do, ye do, wo do. I don't believe in any of that, right? So I'll make absolutely sure that I am abiding by the law at all times, right? So the shop and establishment license, the shop and establishment inspector comes one time and he says, show me your records. So we show everything because we are confident that we have all the records to show we have everything. So we show everything and he goes, ये तो सब ठीक है सर, अभी थोड़ा चाय पानी. So my manager obviously goes to him and says, क्या चाय पानी? This everything is in order. What do you want? I mean everything is proper, right? आपको चाहिए तो मैं कैंटीन में आपको चाय पिलाता हूँ. But क्या कर सकता हूँ? So he says, so this is what the inspector does. He says, मुझे आपका line wash register दिखाइए, right? So now my manager is a junior guy. He's like, line wash register क्या होता है? So he asked me, I have no idea what a line wash register is. So I scratch my hand. I'm like, sir, line wash register क्या होता है? He's like, क्या sir? आपको line wash register नहीं पता? Sir, वो ये होता है कि जो आपके walls है ना, उस पे आपको line wash कराना पड़ता है every 6 months और वो maintain करना पड़ता है. So I told him, but हमारे तो सारे wood के walls है ऐसे, तो उसमें मैं कैसे line wash करूँगा? नहीं sir, चाहिए अभी line wash register का तो चाहिए अभी. नहीं है तो बस अभी आप कोर्ट में आओ, डेट मिलेगा, मैं रिपोर्ट बनाता हूँ, right? So at that point, the right thing for me to do, right, and this is what I did, right, was to go back and ask myself, what is my objective? What am I trying to really do here? Am I trying to fight corruption? Am I trying to really stick to my morals, or am I trying to provide the best game playing experience to my players? Right? And my decision has to be based on that. Right? So I will say it is about really doing the right thing. Last but not the least, a successful entrepreneur, right? You need the intensity. There was a point in the 14-point chart, point 10 was about passion, right? You need that intensity, you need the passion, you need the tenacity, right? The tenacity is the ability to not give up, to persist again and again and again that I will make this happen, right? But I would be lying if I said that you don't need a whole lot of luck. You need a whole lot of luck for all this to work out. And on that note, you guys have been a fantastic audience. Thank you very much. Questions if I have some time.
Idea.
Then let's play the second one actually. If you're only playing the video, let's play the second one. So I want to show you guys a video that is not out yet, not this one, the other one. From the other side. Right, so let me just say one thing about this video, right? Alright, so just watch the... You have to pause it. Yeah, so in our quest of, as we just 1 second, we just... yeah. So we're now on mobile, so you can play dummy anywhere, anytime, and that's the video. So this video, especially for you guys, it's not gone live yet. It will go on YouTube and you'll see it all over the internet starting September. But I wanted to show this to you right now. Please go full screen and then play. Let's go full screen.
You're never too far, whatever you say, it's time to play. Hey, hey.
what is the best source to find out all these line wars kind of information?
To be honest with you, if you're spending time finding out that information, that's a good problem to have, which means you have nothing else to worry about, right? And most entrepreneurs will not find in this situation. I found myself there because there was a problem that I faced, but it's not important. You take care of that. That's not important, right? And it's a good question. Don't worry about all the processes later. Focus on our idea. Focus on what you want to do. Yes.
Why India? Why did you choose India?
We chose India for two reasons. One, because we were Indian, obviously, but more importantly, because for us, the US market was already saturated. The Indian market was really